Melanie, you ready? Awesome. Well, it's 7:05 on Monday, August 19th, and for the first time in the history of our communities, I think, we're going to have a joint session between the Sublimity City Council and the Stayton City Council. So please extend a warm welcome from the City of Stayton to the City of Sublimity. And Mayor Taylor, I will let you do introductions if you'd like.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor. I am Mayor Mike Taylor from Sublimity, and I will go ahead and let the council introduce themselves so everyone can kind of see who was talking. Taz, push your button.
Tass Morrison, Sublimity City Council.
Brian Schumacher, Sublimity City Council.
Chris Bosma, Sublimity City Council.
I can talk really loud. Do I need to use the microphone?
No, you're fine. That's good.
Carlo, Sublimity City Council.
Mr. Sims, you want to start over there on your end?
Steve Sims, Stayton City Council.
Ben McDonald, Stayton City Council.
David Patty, Stayton City Council.
Jordan Ort, Stayton City Council.
David Giglio, Stayton City Council.
Thank you, everybody. And with that, will you please call, I'm going to ask us to join in the flag salute. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With that takes us to general business, and that's Stayton Resolution number 1113 and Sublimity Resolution number 2425-6, authorizing a new 10-year contract for the acceptance and treatment of wastewater for Sublimity to Stayton. And we'll start with the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor Quigley and Mayor Taylor. I'm just going to turn this over to Sublimity and Steve Donovan, unless Myrna wanted to say something. He's prepared a presentation. I will say that these resolutions are the result of quite a bit of time and work, both behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, working through this contract. And I believe Steve is planning on just kind of going over the major elements that are included in the contract.
That's right. There we go. Good evening, mayors. Tonight is the culmination of almost a year's worth of work between the staffs of your two cities to get this contract done. In terms of the scale of this contract for the City of Sublimity, it is the single biggest recurring contract on the books of Sublimity. For Stayton, this contract represents 20% of the total revenues you're going to recognize for your sewer fund. So it's a big deal. And it's a big change. So in your packets, you've got a PowerPoint presentation. And I'll walk through it, 6 slides. We'll be quick. The first thing we want to talk about is the planning assumptions. What is different from this contract versus what you've been working under since 2007? And it's substantially different. We're going to talk about the rate components. Some of you folks, we've got new city councilors here for Sublimity, and we've got a new mayor, Mike. You've been involved with this, so he's I got to also say that it's not only staff, both Mayor Quigley and Mayor Taylor and Jim Crother behind us here have been working on this, enduring our bickering for quite some time now, so they're really into it. But not all of you have seen the details of this, and I think it's incumbent on us to get this information to you. We'll talk about the rate components, then we're going to talk about something new that has not yet been done, but will have to get done by this fall, and that's what we're calling a new joint operating agreement. And we'll talk in detail about that. And then finally, there'll be next steps. So the first thing on the key planning assumptions, this contract is going to be a 10-year contract. It started on July 1st. And as a fact, Sublimity and Stayton have transacted business under this contract since July 1st. There will be automatic 1-year renewals after the 10-year term. unless either party decides to stop it. Within the belly of the contract, there are 3-year rolling rate periods. And every 3 years, the rates are recast, they're recalibrated. And that way we keep up with what your costs are doing, because anybody aware that costs have been going up lately? Let me go back to that then. In terms of the financing, the old contract was simply a flow-based contract. Whatever the flow, metered flow was at over on Gulf Road, the sewage that flows into the Stayton system, that was the basis for it. And rates were going up and down all the time. Very unpredictable cash flows under that contract. This contract is going to be structured to have 3 rate components. One is an allocation of operations and maintenance expense based on measured flow. The second is going to be an allocation of depreciation expense that Sublimity will pay Stayton. And then the third is a return on investment fee. This method is called the utility basis rate making. It is very common. It is done all the time between large organizations that have a wholesale retail relationship. So we're not breaking new ground here. This is very, very common. In terms of what stayed the same, the definitions of the facilities are the same. The other thing is the sewer committee. I'm not sure you're all aware of this, but there's a standing sewer committee between the 2 cities. That is going to be a very critical component going forward as you get into this joint operating agreement. And then the general conditions. So just to give you a sense of how big the breadbasket is, Sublimity is going to pay Stayton $759,385 between July 1st and June 30th. So once again, this is real money. This is not paper route money. And the allocated operations and maintenance component for the first year is going to be $492,637. That component will be adjusted every year in that 3-year cycle for changes in the consumer price index. That way we have a predictable way of Sublimity understanding what its costs are going to be. Stayton has a floor under it to cover itself for inflation on its operating costs. The depreciation expense is about $87,000 a year. Sublimity has already written you a check for that first year's amount, and that money was sent in July. The return on investment fee is going to be about $180,000, and that's fixed for the 3 years until we readjust it after the next 3-year period. So this next piece is extremely important, and it was very important frankly, for me and for everybody on the team. Most organizations that, like you folks, where you've got 2 cities as partners in a relationship, have that formalized through an operating agreement. You haven't had that, and you need that. We are going to have that done within 6 months of July 1st. So come October, we're going to have this substantially done. Now, what we envision in this intergovernmental agreement right now is 4 components, not limited to 4. There may be more as you get into the details of this. The first one is an extremely important one. It's infiltration and inflow abatement. Do you all know what infiltration and inflow is? Everybody?
Kinda.
That's water from groundwater or from rainwater that gets into the sewer system and then has to go to the wastewater treatment plant to be treated. It's expensive to do that. We want to minimize that. Both cities, because of the age and the nature of their collection systems, have I&I problems, and we're trying to abate that. So the strategy is going to be to have a cooperative long-term agreement on this. Your master plan in Stayton has a full chapter of it dedicated to I&I abatement. They did a great job, by the way. It's one of the best I've ever read, and I read a lot of master plans. Sublimity doesn't have one, and they need one, and they're going to need to pay for that, and they're going to have to get that done. We're also going to have both cities make investments in your collection system, sealing of manholes, pipe joint tightening, things like that. And then, of course, the operations and maintenance of the system, enhancing and maintaining what you've got. This is an ongoing struggle that every sewer system in the world has. It's an expense that you try to minimize. You'll never, ever do away with I&I, but you try to minimize it. Land use planning. Right now, there is no relationship, land use planning-wise, between Sublimity and Stayton. If Sublimity brings in another subdivision, in the past, they might not even called Stayton to talk to them and say, hey, by the way, we're bringing in another 100 homes. Can you treat our sewage? Yeah, we're going to need to formalize that. And we need to formalize that through this IGA. There is a limited amount of capacity in their wastewater treatment plant. It has to be managed as a scarce resource. And eventually, that capacity is going to have to be expanded. That's going to be tens of millions of dollars. Mike, you know this. We're all aware of this. We need to manage that resource more carefully. And it's one of the most regulated machines that we have in this country, wastewater treatment plants. You operate under a number of permits. We have to do a better job coordinating the management of that permit. Things that happen in Sublimity could have a deleterious effect on the wastewater treatment plant in Stayton. It's incumbent upon us to do a better job of that relationship. Contaminants reduction. Your operations people have been noticing that there have been problems coming from Sublimity lately in terms of the strength of discharge. We need to do a better job communicating that and getting the relationship better and finding out who is putting bad stuff in the sewer system. This is also something that it's a real high priority for the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality. This is like #1 on their radar. And I worked on a number of projects where we've found polluters, everything from acids to radioactive waste going into sewer systems. So that's something that we're going to be working on in this contract. And then finally, and one of the ones that's from a financial standpoint, is system development charges. Does everybody know what system development charges is? Okay. Right now, each city collects their own SDC, sewer SDC, without communicating to the other. Stayton is now responsible for the sewage treatment plant, but Sublimity is not collecting explicitly any money for capacity growth in the sewage treatment plant. So what we're proposing to put together here is a uniform wastewater treatment SDC that everybody collects and is retained by Stayton. Sublimity, if they have a new house, they'll charge an SDC for treatment, and they'll remit that money to Stayton to go into capacity expanding projects at the wastewater treatment plant. Each city will then also charge their own respective collection system SDC for the expansion of their respective collection systems. That's something that we'll be working on through this IGA. Once again, these are the 4 things we've identified so far as sort of key topics. That's not to say that there won't be something else.
Mayor Quigley.
Councilor Orr, go ahead.
I have a question. I have 2 questions.
Sure.
Who's on the sewer committee? The mayor?
Those 2 mayors, and then the staffs, the public works directors of,
Okay.
of the respective cities.
Okay. And then, can you repeat what you were saying, that we have a wastewater fee that we charge, but are you saying we need to have another fee, the collection, or will that, are you?
Maybe I went too fast on that.
Okay.
System development charges, that's what we're talking about here,
Yes.
is only charged to new development. It's a one-time fee charged to new development for capacity expanding costs of the system.
Oh, you're just talking about SDC.
SDCs.
I thought you were, okay.
That's
I got
it. That's it. Going to talk about milestones now. As I said, tonight you're going to sign off on this agreement. We've actually been working under it since July 1st. We've been paying, you've been receiving money and providing service since July 1st. We've been paying for that service under the expectation that tonight this contract will be formalized. At the last sewer committee we had in July, June or July was that? It was this summer. We made an agreement that we want to have another sewer committee meeting on October 1st. The #1 agenda item on that will be this IGA, this intergovernmental agreement. The joint operating agreement needs to be done within 6 months of July. So we're talking about, what would that be? February? So this is a high priority item, and we wrote language in the contract that you got to get this done. This is a contract deliverable that has to be done. So that is the status of what's happened here. We want to thank the two mayors and Jim, certainly. Your staffs, Julia has been a peach on this thing, James. We have your lawyers, the lawyers. The lawyers did a good job. I think you've got a fine product here. You should be proud of it. I think this next step of a formalized operating agreement between these two cities will benefit your city of Stayton, your city of Sublimity, but more importantly, the river. The river is going to benefit from this. Thank you. That's all I had, unless there's more questions.
I just want to add on the sewer committee point on page 11 of your packet is the section of the IGA, the agreement, that says the sewer committee for Stayton, it's going to be 5 people consisting of the mayor of Stayton, Stayton's public works director, and 3 others selected by the mayor. And then Sublimity is the mayor of Sublimity, Sublimity's public works director, and 3 others selected by the mayor. So there's more people involved, but once this contract is done, we'll have to determine who the mayor wants to select or who the mayors want to select. But that could be done, I'm sure, at a later time.
Sounds good, Steve. Thank you very much. I think that was a succinct presentation about the work that and the effort that went into this, so I appreciate it. With that, this is an opportunity for public comment specific to this resolution. Is there anybody? Doesn't sound like it. Mr. Taylor, Mayor Taylor, I think I'm going to yield to you and let you have council discussion if you'd like to on the Sublimity side, and then we'll come back to the Stayton side.
Well, thank you, Mayor. So, do we have any on Sublimity's side? Do we have any discussion, any questions? I know we've been working on this for quite a while.
We don't have any questions.
Really? No questions, Taz?
No, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry to disappoint.
All right. Yeah, like I said, this is something, and Steve, thank you so much. You've been guiding us through this process, and we really appreciate that. Your expertise has been invaluable. We've been working on this for a long time, and we're glad to finally see that work come to fruition and enter into this agreement. And I think it speaks volumes of both our communities, and seeing that we can work together and we can move forward. And I look forward to other projects. There is a water line, just needs a little more work between Stayton and Sublimity we could talk about. But anyways, so it looks like we're good on Sublimity's side.
Thank you. All right, Stayton. What would the Stayton folks like to talk about?
Mayor.
Councilor Patty.
Thank you. I just want to say a sincere thanks to Sublimity staff, Stayton staff, and both mayors for doing the extra legwork on this. I remember finding out about this requirement that we jointly meet years ago and saying, man, we should probably start doing that. And it's good to see this finally come together, and thank you for your work on getting that done. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Giglio.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo that. This is obviously just the result of tons of really good work. And I'm really, I think also I really like the way that the IGA was, thank you for your presentation on the IGA. That really helps me in understanding the purpose of that. And I mean, even after our tour today, just understanding we really are going to really need to plan for the future in terms of capacity and as both of our communities grow. So I think that's such a key piece for me, and I love seeing this that in this agreement.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? One last time?
May I comment
Sure, Cass,
also?
go ahead.
If the green light is on, does that mean the mic is? Thank you. I appreciate so much having the opportunity to tour the facility this evening, and I thank the City of Stayton staff for putting that together and allowing us to see in depth and hear in depth the expanse of that wastewater treatment facility And I am just so impressed with the skills and knowledge of the staff there. I had no idea, I hadn't met them before, and I have a great deal of confidence in the City of Stayton's ability to maintain that facility, to upgrade the facility as needed, and to manage it on a day-to-day basis very well for our community. So thank you.
Thank you, Tess. With that, Mayor Taylor, I'll leave it to let you direct the Sublimity Council decision.
All right, so make sure I got the right one here.
So as everyone's aware, we're looking at resolution number 2425-6. And now, do we need to get a consensus to read it by title only? No, we don't? Okay. So then I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the intergovernmental agreement and resolution 2425-6 as presented.
I have a motion and a second. You want to do a roll call, being a resolution? No? We'll just wing it. All right. Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? All right. Resolution is adopted.
Thank you, Mayor. What would the City of Stayton City Council like to do with resolution number 1113?
Yeah, I'll move to adopt as presented.
Okay. Motion to approve as presented.
Seconded.
It's been moved in second to approve resolution number 1113, authorizing a new 10-year contract for the acceptance and treatment of wastewater from Sublimity to Stayton. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. With that,
History in the making.
I just want to once again commend Steve and all the team there for that presentation. But it really is, at the end of the day, the staff from both cities that really put the effort into this. And for me, it was a learning experience along the way, just revelation upon revelation and education upon education, if you will, and really beneficial. I think the outcome is going to be great for both communities. So thank you very much. And with that, we will adjourn this first meeting.
Sounds good.
Right.
Sure.
Okay. Oh, Myrna's got to get a picture.
That's the way to do business, you know? Come on, Steve.
Meant to stay. You gotta be like shaking hands in the middle. You know?
I gotta get the chair the way to do that. And the big chairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that chair's in the way. Can you,
We can scoot those to the sides and then just all kind of get between them.
Just, we can do it in the back. Yeah, we'll just stand in front.
well, you gotta either up front or back. What's making this?
Yeah.
Just push these out. We'll move back. Yeah. Doesn't matter.
There you go. You guys can move in a little bit. Okay. You guys move in. David move down.
You guys do the same thing.
David and Steve gotta move in.
Sorry, just one of us need to move forward. Is that what you're saying?
Not a photographer.
All right.
Come on. I gotta suck it in.
All right. Alyssa, you want to say 1, 2, 3?
Alyssa.
1, 2, 3. All right. And then let's get a picture.
Okay.
Let's go.
What do we have?
They're gonna
You two are going to sign the contract.
fake side it.
Okay.
Oh, Alyssa has it? Okay.
It's one of those things where we use a fancy pen.
Right. The one with the feather and the ink. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I got this pen here.
Can I go over in there? Do you want to test? Let's step out of the picture. Hello.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm new as of last month. So.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
So we have a contract and a resolution. So
Okay.
if you guys could. Did you guys have
So,
No, we're appointed.
The mayor signs this one, and I sign this one, or what? Or both?
So this is for you.
Where's for my resolution?
Okay.
This is your resolution.
Okay.
And then this is the contract.
Okay. So you're gonna take a.
Moved, and then Jim Crowther stepped in.
Sign the contract.
So hopefully I'll be here again in December or in January. How long have you been on the government? This is my 6th year.
Okay. Now I will sign the mayor's liberty.
My son is 10. So you started when they were young.
Today's
Wow. They all started because I was like
4.
Yeah.
My fancy one.
That's how I ended up carrying on. Well, my company buys right away, so we buy
Awesome.
Alright, thank you.
Nice to see you. Thank you for the.
We'll be back.
Okay, good. Thank you for the great work. Steve wants to.
Okay, yes, good to meet you. Nice to meet you. How are you? Yeah. As of last month.
I actually really came up when they were issuing
Clean
Fun stuff, I know. Hi.
Jordan or stuff like that.
Hey, fellas.
I didn't get to meet you.
Thank you, Steve.
So anyway, because of my job, it's just I like infrastructure. I like to be involved.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there are pieces of that for sure.
Because like when there was that water
it's fun, 'cause we
contamination
work with
problem.
all of our clients are government agencies.
I just stick it on for you guys.
Connor was talking about meeting with City Amity, city manager, which is fun. You know, it's good thing. So it is fun.
So if we had that water line, we could actually, in an emergency like that, we could send water to the state. At the same time, we have water. Or could only be, then we could bring in water from there, like fill a tower. Okay. We'll have to check and see what kind of cost is associated with that, and actually how much pipe needs to be laid.
Oh wow. Oh,
I
absolutely,
think for,
yes.
for the future, it'd be good to have in place, because it would have really helped when all that happened. All right, thank you.
Good work tonight.
Thank you.
I think it's a job very well done by both parties.
Yeah.
Oh. Thank you, Kari. Thank you.
All right, we ready for the second half? What do you do? Is it separate meeting? Is it considered a separate meeting, the next one?
Yes, this is a what's that? Follow the agenda. It's up to you.
We don't need to. Do we need to move around or? No? All right. It's about 7:35 per the clock on the wall, and after we just concluded with the joint meeting between Sublimity City Council and Stayton City Council, we will call this Stayton City Council meeting to order. We're going to forego the flag salutes we did at the last meeting. Are there any announcements, additions to the agenda, declaration of ex-party conflict, any ex-party contact? No, nothing. This is an opportunity for public comment, and looks like we have one request for recognition. So before I call that person up, I'm going to read the statement. The council will now receive public comment. We value the time and initiative members of the public take to share their thoughts with the council. The council's role during public comment is not to immediately respond, but to listen. If there's a follow-up necessary, we will direct city staff to do so. Remember that we all model the way for our community, and we ask that everyone share their thoughts respectfully. Those who have completed a request for recognition form will be called one at a time to step forward and turn on their mics, which is the green button, and state their name and address. Please note that speakers will have 3 minutes to express their thoughts. And with that, Ms. Bland, Gail Bland, come on up.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Gail Bland. I live on the corner of Brett Court and Westtown Drive. I moved here 1 year ago, August 2023. I was grateful for your quick responses to my July 15 email. I felt that my concern for public safety was taken seriously. One issue was the tree trimming that has been resolved, but there's still a visibility issue at the intersection. I believe a more permanent solution is needed. I want to suggest making a four-way stop at Westtown Drive and Brett Court, adding a stop sign going north and south on Westtown Drive. This will improve visibility at the intersection. When exiting Brett Court, a vehicle must inch out into the center of the intersection to see if there is any oncoming traffic traveling on Westtown Drive. This is very dangerous. I talked with all my neighbors on Brett Court, and they all have had near collisions because they cannot see any oncoming vehicles. Everyone was willingly signed this suggestion for making Brett Court and Westtown Drive a four-way stop. The city is at risk for being sued if an accident occurs at the intersection. I have had 3 near collisions myself in the 1 year I have lived here. There is just not enough visibility to see oncoming traffic. Any driver turning onto Brett Court from Westtown Drive cannot possibly see vehicles because of the vehicles, bicycles, or pedestrians on Brett Court. Another concern for public safety at the intersection is pedestrians walking across Westtown Drive, going through the intersection to West Park Court to visit the city park called Westtown Park. As a pedestrian, we have to walk 1/2 way into the intersection to see up and down the street of Westtown Drive. Again, I can't say enough how dangerous this intersection has become. There are many families and households in the neighborhood. We use Westtown Drive to enter and exit our homes. It seems simple and straightforward to change Brett Court and Westtown Drive into a four-way stop. We travelers all use North Gardner Avenue. It is not an inconvenience to stop at North Gardner and Locust Street. Please put a stop sign going north on Westtown Drive and going south on Westtown Drive. Thank you for letting me share my concerns for public safety. I like Stayton, and I'm happy to live here. I am aware that there cannot be any discussion on my request tonight. What can I do to bring this safety concern to the council table? Thank you again for listening to my concern about public safety.
Thank you, Ms. Bland. Could you do us a favor? Could you submit that list of names to Julia, since you're here, if you're willing to do that? Thank you. Thank you very much. So we will ask staff to review that for you. And I know that myself and Councilor Sims and I think several of us went out there to look at that. So we will have some follow-up at the end of the future. We'll let Julia's aware of it. Julia responded, and there we go.
Yes.
Thank you very much again. Appreciate it. Is there anybody else that didn't submit a green form that wishes to come forward?
May I add a second?
Yeah, sure. Come on.
I'll just say it right from here. So when you guys said you went there.
I gotta do it again. You gotta get on the record. You know how it works.
Fine. No, this, don't have much to add. That's the area where you would literally have the dips. And if you were anywhere on our particular, I happen to be on that list, and she's my neighbor. And you hear people hitting it way too fast and sometimes flying. So, okay, that gives you another idea where that is kind of a hazard in itself. I don't think it definitely was not put there to be something to slow people down. It's part of the drainage of the streets. In fact, entirely all the water from West Park Court goes all the way down to West Brett to one grate.
Gotcha.
In case you didn't know that. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's why those are there.
All
Okay,
right.
good
Yeah.
enough?
Preach it. Hold on. I hate to do this to you. Name and address for the record, please.
Name and address.
You know the deal.
1740 Schaff Road.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That's all good.
Leonard Hayes.
Yep. Thank you, Leonard.
Okay.
All good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Anybody else? One more time. Exhausted. Nope. Sounds good. Thank you. Let's go with the consent agenda from August 5th. Regular council session minutes. Council?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Patty.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second.
It's been moved in second to approve the council minutes from August 5th as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion
Aye.
carries 5-0. No presentations tonight, no public hearing. Moves us along to general business, resolution number 1114, new authorizers for Mission Square 457 plan. And Julia, in the absence of Mr. Brand, or Alyssa is going to do it in the absence of Mr. Brand. Go ahead, Alyssa.
I am going to play James tonight. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you is a resolution adding James and myself as authorizers on the Mission Square 457 plan, a plan that kind of came as a surprise to us that we even had. And so it previously, this is really kind of a housekeeping thing because Mission Square would not change the authorized people on the plan because the people are gone. Christine Schaefer, who left in 2016, and then Dawn Hudson, who was the other one on there, which, as Brian knows, that was back maybe like 2007, 2008 that he left. So their requirement was that we bring it forward and get council authorization to show that we are authorized to be authorized people on this account. And that's about it. If you have questions, I will try to answer them.
Okay. One more time, is there any public comment on this specific item? Okay, council discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Patty.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised to see this one. I was just curious and confused. Do you think there's anything else like this out there? Because, we could really use some pocket change for our retirees. I mean, we just...
You never know.
Yeah, so...
I don't think so.
Okay.
And this one has been inactive since 2012 with there's been no employees even using it. I think, and this is just speculation, but this is related to ICMA, which is the International City Managers Association. So I think maybe a past city manager may have been a part of it. When James came to talk to me about it, I was like, I don't know what Mission Square is. And then when he called or did a little more research and saw the ICMA, he's like, well, I'm like, okay, well, I bet you it was a former city manager or something that was participating in it. I don't recall it ever being, like right now we have the Oregon Savings Growth Plan is the main 457 that the city offers. It's supplemental, right? It's a supplemental retirement program. And so that's really what we offer. This, since I've taken over benefits, it's not something that I'd ever been aware of. But it could just be that it's not been utilized, and a lot of the finance directors that we've had didn't
Thank you.
do anything. So I hope there's nothing else like this out here.
Oh, I hope there is, but okay.
Yeah, and it's not money that we can use, right? Like, this is for retirees, but we'll find out. Like, we don't know. And if it's not being utilized now, you know, is it something that we close out? Or I'll leave all of that to James.
Councilor Patty brings up a good point, though. So what do we do in the future when people leave the city, and how do we account for all the resources that they may be in possession of and or knowledge of?
So what we do now is we do have, like, there's at least 2 to 4 people on accounts. And so, like, right now, say the bank account, there's 4 of us that have access to it. We have different kinds of access, but there's 4 of us. And so when someone leaves, usually Julia or I can reach out and say, we need to change all our users. So really working hard, especially now that James is here. He's really been great about catching these things and making sure that we've got everything in order and know what we have.
Okay. Okay, council discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, Councilor McDonald, go ahead.
Just another quick question for Alyssa. So those kinds of things, those processes now, I'm assuming, are now documented and written down for anytime somebody leaves, we need to take care of X, Y, and Z, so that if there's any question, we've got it on paper that
Yeah, and
a new
actually,
employee or whoever can refer to.
Yes, and actually one thing that we're working on, you'll see in the coming months, we've got a new employee handbook coming forward for consideration. And part of the advice we got from CIS with that was you've got a lot of policies and procedures within that, and you need to pull those out, and it should be a separate manual. And so taking, like, as a lot of you know, we did recruitment procedures several years ago, and kind of putting all of these procedures into one manual, and included in that is a when you're leaving checklist, and that'll have those kinds of things on it, so that we don't have things fall through the cracks.
Sounds good. Anybody else? What would council like to do here?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor McDonald.
I will move that we approve Resolution 1114 as presented.
Seconded.
Okay. There's a motion and a second to approve resolution number 1114, making new authorizers for Mission Square 457 plan. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Communication from city staff. Thanks, Alyssa.
Thank you. I have a few. One, the League of Oregon Cities legislative priorities that we've talked about the last couple of meetings. I did submit the survey with your top 5, and then I also sent a letter to the league stating our disappointment at not having anything in there about readdressing ORS 195 in response to the Supreme Court decision on homelessness. They actually responded, and I'll just read to you what they said. It says, the LOC intentionally left ORS 195's mandates regarding how cities and counties regulate public spaces in relation to people experiencing homelessness when it released its legislative priorities, because at the time of the release, the U.S. Supreme Court had not yet issued its ruling. Without knowing how the Supreme Court was going to rule, LOC had no real way to identify the relevant Oregon statute as a potential priority point of discussion. That said, the LOC has always intended for its board of directors to provide direct and specific guidance on the relevant ORS 95 provision, specifically how LOC should proceed in its lobbying efforts related to the statute. As of now, the tentative plan is for the Board of Directors to review all legislative priorities at its October meeting in Bend. When that discussion is finished, the board will then pivot to discussing ORS 195 and its rules, providing staff guidance on how to proceed. So just wanted to share that with you.
I have a question, Julia.
Yes.
So I appreciate you reading that. I guess my curiosity is, have we submitted those same objectives to SMAC?
Not yet.
Okay.
I wanted to see how they responded. Yeah. I wanted to give you just information on the bridge. I sent an email or a text. I provided you guys information, the council information, last week about the Water Street Bridge that was closed due to ODOT bridge inspectors' inspection. There was a critical failure on the bridge, and they recommended or required it be closed immediately. That is one of the bridges that we included in our ODOT grant. There's a bridge grant. Unfortunately, it's a kind of a long time out. The application was due in October of 2023, but they're not going to be making decisions on that. It says the applications will be processed by ODOT and will prioritize them and prepare the scoping list in early 2024. The committee will make funding recommendations for 2027 to 2030 in early 2025 after field scoping and a final technical ranking is calculated. So we won't know until next year whether or not we're going to get money 3 years to 5 years. So that's where we're at right now on the bridge. Yes, so just remember all the good news I give you on a regular basis when I'm sharing that. I also want to let you know that Republic Services has just reached out to us recently about planning their next bulky waste event. They're going to do it October 26th, and we'll be sending out flyers once we get them from them, and they agreed that they will get us flyers this time, and we'll include that in our monthly newsletter for the October 1st distribution. And then I also wanted to bring Chief Johns up here just to share day one of Safety Town. Obviously, you've seen the little houses out here and saw some stuff out in the parking lot, and I know it's been a long day for you, but I appreciate you coming and sharing how it has gone so far.
Mayor, council, and staff. So yes, our houses back here are amazing and wonderful. Artwork by Jennifer at the library and a printer. So with the banners on there represent like the police station, the library, covered bridge, and a few others. The backs are actually like a view inside the house, so pretty neat and exciting, and a neat way to represent our community. So today we had a little over 30 campers and then 15 middle school and high school students that were here. They rode go-karts around the parking lot in our Safety Town. Met with the fire department, animal control brought in a dog and talked about safety with animals, and had just different stations all day. So throughout the week they'll get different lessons. We'll have a public safety lesson. Our dispatchers will be here and talk about 911. They'll do electrical safety and just kind of on and on. So a great week. It's a day camp. And then at the end of the week, we've got graduation on Friday at 11 that you're all invited to if you're free and able to come. The next time that we all meet for council, I'll be presenting amendment code change for our municipal courts, because we're moving in the direction of prosecuting low-level misdemeanors in our municipal court. So many staff have been working towards that, and that looks like in September we've got our momentum behind us, and that code change will come. National Night Out went very well. We enjoyed coming to the park to the hosted event by council and being able to interact with council and staff, and had a good time. We just found that the events that we traveled around to in the city were really truly great ways to engage those neighborhoods, and the neighborhoods to engage their neighbors. So one specifically on Deer Avenue, it was a brand new neighbor, and the neighbors that all came, they're like, we've all lived here for such a long time, but we've never got together like this, and this is amazing. And so just getting to know more about each other and about their neighborhood. And we had a good amount of staff there because it was the first one, and the fire department showed up, and just a lot of great engagement. They could ask us any questions they wanted about the agency or about calls for service or how they deal with a certain problem, and it was just really good conversations. Mentioned in Friday Pass Down the grants that we're working on, but there's a drug testing kit that we got a grant for through CIS, LiveScan, which is electronic fingerprinting, and that's an amazing grant opportunity with Oregon State Police. So it's like a $25,000 grant for us to move away from the old ink and paper fingerprinting. And then we've submitted for a radar reader feedback sign board, and haven't heard yet, but that's the other one on there. And then I just say some highlights. We host a Intel meeting that's county-wide every 2 months, and we've got some really great responses from that and great, I guess, results. And so this last one actually gave us some good intel on a burglary suspect on a case that we've been working. So we do have a lot of county-wide resources that we access, and one that we're going to begin to join is Safe Streets meeting hosted in Salem. And I think for us, and I've talked to Julia, it's a good resource. It's FBI based and supported, but it helps reach out and address problems in communities where they can throw a little more resource and intel at it as well. So if we're in a situation like that, it would be a good connection to have as well. Any questions?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Patty.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say thank you for all the work that you've done today. I know it's been a busy one for you to do today, so thank you so much for coming here and answering some questions about this stuff. With the live scan, is that adding any additional capacity for your department or anything, or like what would be, I guess, the use for you guys on that? I'm just curious.
So anytime we arrest someone, then we fingerprint, so it goes on their CCH, and then it's followed all the way through the court process. So now with prosecuting the misdemeanors in a municipal court, that's also an additional need for fingerprinting. I think we originally kind of went after the grant when the whole ballot measure with guns came out, and we weren't sure where that was going to land. So honestly, I'd sort of forgot that I even requested it, and then they're like, yay, you got it, and I thought, yay, more work. But it is a good grant. It is, moving us into the future of processing fingerprints. It'll be more accurate and immediate, feedback. Like if we wanted to ID someone we didn't know, we had the lawful reason to take them into custody and determine that we could come down and fingerprint and get feedback if they were already in the system. So there's some neat tools for that.
That's really cool. Thank you for sharing all that.
You're welcome.
Councilor Sims.
So I had another question, or actually, I really enjoy reading your weekly update in the report. It's always great reading. It's like my favorite part of the report, to be honest with you.
Thank you. Yeah.
So I'm kind of a metric person, and you have a list of, what is it, CAD activities?
CAD. So computer automated dispatch. So our dispatch center is Metcom. And so they answer the phones for us, and they enter it into a computer system, and then that computer talks to our cars and our desktops at the station. So thank you, because I forget, Julie asked me that a long time ago, what is CAD? But it's computer automated dispatch.
All right, I've wanted that for a while. I was afraid to ask.
No, you're good. You're good. Ask any of those. I try not to do too much police lingo in there, but
okay,
please ask.
But I guess the other thing is I'm kind of a metrics person, and just being the engineering background, but you have the CAD activities on there, but is there any way we could get, or we could see, how many citations were issued on a weekly basis, or something added into the report? I mean,
sure.
I think that would be pretty helpful. Hopefully everybody else thinks that would be helpful, but I would love to see the number of citations on there also.
Sure, and I know at one point we had, my belief was they were going on the city website, and then we ran into, there was an issue with how that was getting pushed forward, but I think we have that fixed, so it should be on the city website as well.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah, I
I
remember
can-
there was at one time. I
Yeah, I can
remember
work
seeing
to
that.
add
Yeah,
it
that's
to
part
the-
of their monthly, and honestly, I've been bad about reminding council that the monthly updates have been updated. They are updated monthly, but I had been trying to, when I got word from Melanie, to let you guys know in your weekly update that it had been updated. But yeah, so you should be able to go in there. And if there's something that is in there, because it is, you know, if there's something more that you're wanting to know, let me or Chief Johns know what the detail is, and then.
Yeah, and then the other reminder is stats are stats, right? Stats can tell us a little bit, and sometimes there's more behind the story. So I found when we were doing a traffic comparison with other cities, sometimes stats are measured different. So for us, it's a ticket, which has 3 blanks for charges. So if I pull someone over for speed and they don't have a driver's license and they're uninsured, some cities count that as 3 tickets. Whenever it was determined how to count stats here, prior to me, it's a ticket. So if it's got 1 on it or it's got 3, it's a ticket, which we can also break it down further, but you know, just explanations. Sometimes when if we don't know what's behind the stats, sometimes that can lead to other questions.
Sure.
But,
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
And then just so you know, this week is the seatbelt blitz. So this morning we had 2 different officers out on different times doing seatbelt enforcement, and that'll continue through the week. And then we'll do saturation patrols the first week of school, based around the start of school time and the end of school time as well. And also Labor Day DUI patrols.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Chief, thanks for that. I think maybe I need an education, because I looked at the reporting recently, and I can't find exactly like how many speed citations were issued. Is that on that reporting?
So I'm sharing with Gwen what is up on the website.
Yeah, it looks like it changed. It's just like statistics now, but not where you can drill down to see specifically a citation for excessive speed, for example. Is that the case or not?
So what Alyssa's showing me is not the traffic stuff. So I will look at it tomorrow.
Okay.
And we will
Fair enough.
re-massage that.
Thank you.
So-
Sounds good. Anybody else?
I just want to say, I feel like it was more information there for a while, and now maybe
There
it's
was.
less.
Yeah, it's changed.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it looked like
Oh.
the consolidated monthly NIBRS report was also included in the past ones, and also the monthly traffic stats.
And Melanie's just reminding me, there was some sort of server issue with Salem, and that like regional wide impacted data collection for a while. So, yes,
Okay. We'll look for it to be changed.
sounds good.
Anybody else? Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Julia, anything else?
That is all we have.
Okay. Opportunity for communication from the mayor and the council, and as always, I'll let council go first. Council Orr.
Mr. Mayor,
Go
thank you.
ahead.
I have a couple things. So I've had this mulling around in my brain, and I just want to get it out there so I don't forget. But we had talked about during budget committee getting it was I don't know if it was proposed, but anyway, we had talked about looking at general fund dollars, like having a line item on the general fund for the street fund. We were I know I had mentioned it, and Councilor Giulio had mentioned it, so I just wanted to put that out there to see if you guys were interested. I know that is a little ways away, but I didn't want to wait till we were in budget season to bring that up. So just if you guys are interested in seeing that and what that would look like. I'm not proposing an amount or anything, I'm just saying that I want to have a conversation about that.
And Councilor Ort, I think that it's great that you have that conversation. I think also that is likely, A great spot for that is when we do goal setting and goal direction too. So certainly council can have that conversation prior to, but that's another opportunity to have that conversation.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Councilman Giglio.
Yeah, sorry, this question for Julia, and it's in relationship to the question that was just brought up by Councilor Ort. So I, listened to the last meeting because I wasn't here, but so at that, what's our next? Is there going to the next meeting for that? Right, there's going to be a meeting where we start to determine what street, and then we start to set some funding, the way we're going to fund, because we do need to start down that path. Right, and so is that something that's happening in goal setting, or is that something that's happening prior to goal setting?
Yeah, that's going to happen prior to goal setting. And we left the survey open for a little bit. I haven't honestly had a chance to really look at and fully analyze the final information. And so it's just because of the way council meetings are falling, it's probably not going to be until October, because I'm not going to be here at the second meeting in September, and the first meeting in September is the day after Labor Day, and we're not having. So it's probably going to be the first meeting in October that I'll kind of lay out, here's the information, here's our recommendations, here's a plan of action. And then, yeah, we're going to have council select pretty quickly what roads you want to proceed on this year so that we can actually begin working on them this year.
And is there a plan, because I know this was kind of left a little bit we've had a lot of partial conversation, we've had a lot of conversations about it, obviously, just a ton. And I feel like where we were getting closer to over the last, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, it felt like we were getting closer to trying, my understanding was we were trying to get closer to setting time aside to develop a more long-term strategy and that's, I feel like, what we have with the videos that are going and the survey and all these things. It felt like this was working towards being able to have a few meetings where we're, okay, we have this, we have the information, and now what's going to be kind of our long-term plan beyond even just this year. Was that, am I understanding that? Was that our expectation that?
Yeah, and that's, yes, that's certainly the plan. We need to do both what we're going to do this year, because we're now, 2 months into the fiscal year, almost 3 months into the fiscal year, and then lay out that long-term plan and how we're going to plan for road improvements going forward and how we're going to fund road improvements going forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I think my recollection was we were waiting for the survey to be concluded. Mm-hmm. And the stuff that you shared with us last meeting was some good information, right? So we left it open for a little bit longer just for National Night Out, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
And we did get a number of additional comments while we left that over. It was, I don't know the number, but we did get more, so it was worth it.
Good.
Okay. Council, anybody else? Oh, Council Ort, go ahead. And Council
actually, I had two more. Okay. So I would like to know, I'm interested to know, in this situation that was brought to us during public comment about traffic concerns, what's the process, and how does that, how do we go through a review of traffic patterns and safety and whatnot when situations like this are brought to our attention?
So she brought it to your attention, which is fine. She also brought it to my attention, and it's been a month, and it's been a month. So I'm going to have my Public Works folks look into it, look at whether or not just sort of look at it, see whether or not there are sight distance issues, see whether or not there are obvious concerns, and then I will probably follow up with her, as well as, if council would like, with council. It's not something that, council can direct us to look into it, but it's not really necessarily anything that you would take action on other than directing us to look into it. Generally, stop signs, they have to be warranted, so certainly that would be something that we'd have to look at, is look at the traffic volumes, look at what's going on that road. But there might be other things going on. I did drive over there prior to this meeting because I was given a heads up that she was going to come, and there's There's something there. I'm not sure exactly what. It might be the way the cars are parked on West Town Drive, but I need to look at it, and certainly my engineering folks that have that background and that knowledge should look at it too, just to make sure, to see what the proper fix is, if there is a warranted fix.
Okay, I have one more real quick thing. So, speaking of National Night Out, I was talking with the firefighters, and I think it would be a great idea for people to go to your house and like look at night and make sure that you can see your house numbers, because they said that it's a big deal when they're when they get 911 calls and service calls. If it's not a fire, obvious, you can see a burning house, but if it's a medical emergency or things like that, it'll do you a very good service to make sure that your house is visible.
Councilor Ort, thank you. Councilor Patty?
Yeah, I have a question now. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Is there code on our books presently, and you may or may not know this, that says that we must have, our house numbers visible?
I do not know off the top of my head.
Because I feel like that's a good rule, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
The answer is yes.
Okay, they did ask if that was a thing.
So hypothetically, is that something that we should enforce to get people, or awareness maybe, get people to know
I
that?
would recommend awareness rather than enforcement, because it's really to their benefit. But awareness would certainly be a good strategy.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Giglio.
Just following up on Councilor Ort's comment in regards to the public comment that was made, I feel like this is half question, half just like frustration with, the universe. Yeah, it's like I think if you drive that street and if you know that area, that street is just so strange. It almost feels like it's a thoroughfare, but it's like right in the middle of a residential area. And so you start to the speed start to pick up, and there are a lot of weird corners on that area. Just everything about it is odd. So I'm in total agreement with what was brought. And what I would just say for this is if we need a warrant, I would just look at what's the minimum warrant where we don't have to spend a ton of money, but to get what's the quickest thing that we could do to try to get a stop sign in there, or some sort of caution or something as a preliminary measure. Because I am in full agreement that it's frustrating when you know a place, and I'm sure this must be just so frustrating for people who live there. It's the place, you see the place, but now we need to spend $30,000, $50,000, $100,000 or whatever on some sort of study. So just thinking about how can we try to do this efficiently to just get the common sense thing done as quickly as possible. So I know that's been said, I'm sure, but that's just my opinion as well.
And I'll just say, I need to understand it more. Maybe that's not the best location for a stop sign. Maybe every intersection is a good location for us. So again, I need to understand more, and that's what I'm saying. It needs to be warranted, not necessarily that you have a full study, but why that street and why not the street down one block further or one up further? Are there geometric things with the road? Do we need to have traffic calming measures? What is, so a stop sign isn't necessarily the solution to the problem. What's the problem, and what is the solution to the problem? And that's what I need to understand. I just need to look at it and have folks look at it, not necessarily having a full study done, but just have my team that looks at this regularly look at it.
Okay, so it's not necessarily that we're talking about 12-month studies. We're talking about just what is the warrant in the law that would allow us to put a stop sign there or something similar, some sort of safety measure.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Anybody else on this side? All right, I guess it's my turn. Julia, second meeting in September, I will not be here, so Councilor Sims, you're on deck. I need to revisit this bridge closure thing. You said essentially 2030?
2027 to 2030 is the funding for the grant that we have applied for funding for.
Okay, so in the interim, our solution is to keep it closed, or have we thought that through yet?
We haven't thought of any other solution at this
Okay.
point. My understanding is it is in the multiple hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars
Yeah,
to fix.
Okay. So we'll probably have to put more of a permanent barrier up there at some point?
Yes, that is definitely the plan. Michael Schmidt in Public Works is looking at that
Okay.
right now and looking at options. Because, yeah, he said that our staff is pretty much prepared to pull barriers out of the ditch on a regular basis. But we're looking at costing out, they're kind of portable barriers that you fill with water that
Oh, yeah.
become permanent. So that's the plan, and then we would have them, that's one of the plans, he's looking at costs.
Okay.
But we'd have them far enough apart that bikes and peds could easily get through, but cars couldn't.
Okay, thank you. Can we remind everybody about the street celebration, because it's going to be before the end of the next meeting?
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Yes, boy, I didn't have that on my list. Yes, we have our Ida Street ribbon cutting celebration. It's going to be on Friday, August 30th at 4:30. It will be, it's timed and coordinated to coincide with the TGI Friday Fest. So we'll have people there sort of naturally. Hopefully people are coming for the ribbon cutting and staying for TGI Friday Fest, but we'll take anybody that wants to celebrate with us, and we will have, you know, a little pomp, probably not very much, and we're going to have some cake, and that's all I know of right now.
Okay, sounds good. And the last thing I have, I was pretty busy last week with meetings. I went to the RDS meeting on Wednesday. That was informative. Good to have a discussion with the folks and see the interaction between them and the city, especially when it comes to talking about holiday events. That was fantastic. I went to the Chamber Greeters meeting on Wednesday, another opportunity to meet and interact with those folks, and so I got to see that side of it that I don't always have an opportunity to go to because of my work schedule, so I appreciate that. And then I went to the Arts Commission meeting, and I think they have some good ideas. I think we need to get more people involved. So I encourage you, if it has a desire to and an artistic frame of mind, to throw your name in the hat for that. And one of the ideas they asked me to consider and bring it to the council is the stipulation that you be a resident to be on the commission. I think that might be a hindrance to that committee and getting full on that committee. So they asked me to bring it forward to council and see if council would consider making an amendment to that. Is it a statute or is it an ordinance?
It's code, but that
Okay.
would be a fairly easy amendment if council wanted to direct
Yeah. So
staff
that's what they asked me to bring to council, and there you go. That's what I'm doing.
Mr. Mayor,
Council Orr.
is that because they think that more people will join?
Yes.
They have people like in the wings ready
Yes.
to, like, if only I lived in Stayton?
Yeah, so an example given was a business owner that has a business in town but lives in Sublimity, and they're very artistically oriented, and they would wish to serve on. There's two of those examples.
Okay.
And they can't because they live in Sublimity, so. But they are local business owners, and so I think, you know, and, for example, Paul that owns the gallery downtown, he couldn't do it because he's not a resident, so. And I also spoke at one point to the Sugar Heroes owner, and she wanted to do it as well, but again, not a resident of the town, so. So there's potentially 3 or 4 different committee members if you guys consider changing that.
Could it be something where they have, like, state your connection to the community, not just, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know why someone would just want to be on our art commission without having any connection, but I feel like there's got to be some anchoring point.
Yeah, 100%. Yep. Just a consideration for y'all. I told them I'd bring it forward, and there you go. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, yeah, I would just say, I feel like I'm definitely in support of that, as much as, I don't know if anything else needs to be done, but I'm definitely in support of that.
Can you bring that back on the next agenda? And the last thing I just would add is that we don't lose sight of the discussion about the charter review. That got pushed around a little bit. I thought we were going to keep it as an ongoing agenda item, so we could just revisit that, just so we don't lose track of it. I think it's important. And with that, anything else? Anybody else? Friday is the last day for submission for candidates for, is it Friday or?
I think it's Tuesday.
Tomorrow?
The 27th.
Oh, a week from tomorrow.
Yes, it's next week.
Okay. Just wanted to make a reminder so people don't miss it.
27th at noon.
Okay. 27th at noon. So there you go. Anybody else before I conclude tonight? All right. With that, we're adjourned.